What is going on? Welcome to episode 80 of the Nintendo Powercast. I'm your host, N64 Josh, on this NPC Mini. The music you just heard was from On Being Human. You can check them out on Spotify and YouTube. And before we get started on this thing, remember, the official Nintendo Power Podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play, and wherever you listen to podcasts. But this is not the official show. Okay, so make sure you look up Nintendo Power Podcast. Before we get into this one, audibletrial.com/NPC is where you can find a free book and help support this show. Books I like to recommend: Ready Player One, Armada, Super Mario is another good one as well if you like the history of Nintendo. That's audibletrial.com/NPC. The chair I'm sitting in is from OPC. That's opc.com for comfortable, affordable gaming chairs. And you can use the coupon code N64Josh to save $10 on your purchase. Lastly, I have a Patreon where you can get an extra podcast for just $1 a month. There are other tiers available, some vlogs and things like that. Go check that out. There's also free content on there as well. Patreon.com/N64Josh. Okay, well, before we get to our news and talking points, I want to let you guys know about any of the sales that are going on the Switch right now. And actually, before we get to the sales, I'll let you guys in on a little secret if you're just listening to this. This is actually the second take of this show. I recorded about almost all the show and then realized I hadn't hit the correct record. I hit record on GarageBand. I just recorded the wrong channel. So my voice didn't get recorded at all. And I figured it out right as we were about to getting close to wrapping this thing up. So I'm doing it again solo. So if you want to see the other version, you can go to twitch.tv/N64Josh. Look at my past recordings. It's right there. It's right there for your viewing pleasure. Couple quick announcements. Splatoon tournament, April 7th. Okay, this is just like the NPC community tournament. There's no prizes, anything like that. We're just playing for fun. We're just getting together and playing Splatoon. We need at least... We have a full bracket, and we're 5 short from having a full second bracket. So we need 5 more people. If you are interested in playing, come on over to the Discord, n64josh.com/Discord. Just type that in your browser. It'll send you right to your invite, and then you can join up that way. Just at me or Catherine, and we will get you. There is a Splatoon server, so you can ask some questions in there, and we will take care of you if you want to join us. I also have another podcast called the Smash Bros Cast, and of course it's a podcast all about Smash Bros. Now, it's not just covering news, because it would be redundant for me to do that again. I want to get interviews, hopefully, down the road with some pro players, some competitive players. I'm going to be interviewing people that aren't necessarily in the competitive scene, like the pro competitive scene, but maybe have played local tournaments, things like that. So if that's you and you have a good microphone, you should hit me up, because I'd like to, maybe interview you and have you as a guest to just kind of give some tips and pointers on things you've done to compete in local tournaments and maybe how you've done. And the other thing I'm going to be covering is just how to improve in that game. And so the podcast is going to work alongside with some YouTube videos that will have tutorials, as well as the show notes for the show will have just lots of things you can do to be practicing week in and week out, as well as just a lot of resources all in one quick and easy place so that you can improve as a Smash Bros player. So that's the Smashcast. It's on Google Play, iTunes, Podbean, and Stitcher. So you can check that out. And if you enjoy it, hit it with a 5-star review. I want to try and get it on the new and noteworthy on iTunes. That would be great. Okay, well, upcoming releases. We said earlier in the week that Arcade Archives was getting Punch-Out. But apparently that leak was only for Japan and Europe, and we don't have any news of it coming to the States. Now, there is a chance that it could just drop tomorrow or at 9 o'clock Thursday night, Pacific Standard Time. It might be available. We don't know. Hopefully it is. I've seen some video of somebody playing it with the Switch kind of in the upright position, and it looked really cool. It looked really cool. So hopefully we will be seeing it as well. Otherwise, it could be a couple weeks out. We just don't know. Remember, keep in mind that Mario Versus was kind of just ninja launched, is the way I'd like to call it. Nobody had any clue. There was no warning. All of a sudden, here's Mario Versus on the eShop. So that could happen as well. We just end up seeing it tomorrow, and there it is. But if it's not there, I'm apologizing in advance for getting anybody's hopes up. I know Eric was really excited to play it, so I'm pretty excited to play it too. If you are a child of the 80s and 90s, you will remember going into arcades and just hearing body blow, like you could hear it over all of the bleeps and boops. It was really, really quite cool. It kind of just echoes in my mind, actually, and that was from Punch-Out. So that's that. Let's look at the eShop real quick. We got Bleed 2 is on sale. Scribblenauts Showdown is 50% off, and that's probably about the most I would recommend anybody pay for that game. I've had a little bit of fun with it, but it hasn't really been great. Hollow is 51% off. That might be one I pick up. That's that creepy kind of first-person shooter survival horror, so might be worth looking into. There's plenty of games that I don't know, so I'm not gonna recommend them all. Games that I do know are that I know I've either played or I know are games that other people highly recommend. SteamWorld Dig is $5. Super One More Jump is, I've heard some people say good things about that. That's 20% off at $5.60. SteamWorld Heist is on sale for $14.99. Looking at some other games here, it looks like Blossom Tale still on sale. Brawlout is on sale. Scrolling on down here, we got Rocket League on sale, which if you haven't picked that up yet, that's a really fun game. Really good game you should have in your collection. Marvel Superheroes 2 is 50% off. LA Noire is 25% off. The game that everybody needs to have is Farming Simulator. It's 30% off, coming in at a $34.99. What a steal. That's a Farming Simulator, Nintendo Switch edition. Don't miss that one. Let's see here. One I do seriously recommend is Inverses. It is a really fun indie game, especially if you have a couple people to play with. It's really, really a fun indie title, and it's kind of just like you're trying to change. It's like a mix of like asteroids, and I don't even know if asteroids is the best way to put it. You basically are trying to turn the tiles different color, but in doing so, you're also trying to take out your opponent. So it's more than just trying to turn more tiles your color. As you turn them color, you can then travel across them, and so then you can line up your shots to be able to take out your opponent. Or maybe you can also play co-op, where you're trying to last through as many waves as you can. There's a lot of content in the game, and so I'm not sure on the price because I have it. I got it as a review copy, and it is a good one, so I do recommend it. SteamWorld Dig 2 is on sale. Lego Ninjago is 50% off. That's actually a really good game. It has a real arcade feel to it. It feels like they've really upped the play style. It feels more like a classic arcade game than just your typical Legos game. And I do have a review of that on my YouTube channel you can check out. Thimbleweed Park, 50% off, $9.99 right now. And Thumper's on sale, which I've heard a few people like. Lego City Undercover, Snake Pass, 50% off. And one I might check out that's 50% off is Astro Duel Deluxe. And if I do end up picking that up, I will let you guys know in the show on Tuesday. So let's talk news and talking points. In Japan, the Switch has sold over 4 million units. That's right, over 4 million units in Japan, and that is awesome. That is really, really good news. The Switch still seems to be selling strong. I haven't seen numbers for like worldwide recently. The last we had heard, it was like over 14 million. So I know their target is 20 million for the year. I have a feeling, especially if a game like Pokemon comes out, we've already got Smash coming out that's going to have some people pulling the trigger for the first time on the Switch. Then you get a game like Pokemon as well. That we could really, really see some significant Switch sales throughout this year. So fingers crossed that will be the case. I'm really hoping we see a Pokemon, as we talked about in the last episode. I'm ready for another RPG, and I would like to get back into Pokemon. I think it'd be fun. So hopefully we'll be getting that. Okay, this is kind of some bad news, and hopefully it hasn't happened to you yet. If you have a third-party dock, stop using it right now. Because of the latest firmware update, some Nintendo Switches are basically, it's bricking them. These third-party docks are bricking the system. The Nyko one, I guess, was bricking them before this update, but they've even released a statement saying, hey, we're trying to figure this out. Nintendo's saying, hey, don't use third-party stuff. So if you have a third-party dock and it hasn't broken your Switch yet, maybe hold off on using it until this kind of stuff gets figured out. And if I find out any info, of course I'm going to share it with you. Maybe be scouring Reddit and things like that to see what will come of this situation with third-party docks. But as of right now, if you have a third-party dock, I would recommend just not using it. Don't use it. Third-party digital sales have surpassed physical sales. Now, this one I wasn't able to get into the article, so I'm going to go back. We're going to talk about this at length on Tuesday. If this means, let's say that Doom sold more copies digitally than it did physically, that's crazy. That's crazy. Now, I love the physical game. That's just me. I know it's inconvenient to pop the cartridge out and have to change them out. It's very inconvenient. It's nice having everything in one place, but I also like having stuff on my shelf to look at and know that I bought something. I bought a tangible item with my dollar. This could also mean that overall, all indies and digital sales and everything have surpassed physical sales. And if that's the case, this is really not that big of a deal because there's more digital games, there's cheaper digital games, even the games that release, that have released, like, we've seen games like Rocket League, right? Came out at like $20, I believe, but then it was $40 for the physical edition because they added a few extras. So that could also be a factor here. If overall they're just saying third-party digital sales have surpassed the overall physical sales, that makes sense. That I wouldn't expect it to be the other way because there's so many more digital games on the system. So we're going to get into it more. Eric and I will talk about it Tuesday, and we'll see. I know that some people are kind of torn on this subject because of this very next reason right here. The Wii eShop, you can no longer purchase points to be able to buy games. And it's only going to remain open for one more year. So if you have a Wii or you had a Wii and you have a purchase history, you can go in and re-download some of your games. But after a year, it's gone. It's gone. And I know some people are like, who cares? We can emulate whatever, but I don't like that myself. Personally, I don't like seeing that these things just disappearing. And some people have archived these things and you're able to emulate them and that kind of stuff, but for me it's just not the same. I always want to fire up the console and play on the console. Even if, for instance, you want to play Smash 64 right now and you don't own a 64, the next best thing is being able to emulate it on the Wii. For me, right? Some people might just emulate, and that's fine. I'm not judging anything like that. It's just for me personally, I would rather play it on the Nintendo hardware. Just my preference. In a year, this is gone. And a few years from now, this could be the same story with the Switch when something else is new. And after that, who knows? We may, if we get to a point that there's not physical copies any longer, when these kind of things happen, These games will just be gone. And that's what's kind of a bummer. That's what's kind of a bummer to me. And you know what? I mean, look, music used to be like records and 8-tracks and cassette tapes and CDs, and now it's all digital. And I'm fine with it. I pay for a service just to listen to all my music. But what I did hear this year, that the physical sales of music has actually increased, where it's been on the decrease for so many years. So I know I'm not alone in this as far as wanting physical releases, and then I just don't want to see these things get closed down. I can't imagine that it's all that costly for Nintendo to keep this stuff up, but they don't seem to mind shutting it down. They don't seem to mind at all. So, if you come across an old Wii and you have purchases, you can sign into your old account. I believe with your purchase history, you can still get those games, but you cannot purchase any games any longer. It's not possible. Lastly, we got more details about Splatoon 2 development. Now, I know we talked about this in the episode earlier in the week or a couple weeks ago about possibly playing as rabbits, and also they just used like tofu chunks as the like kind of a placeholder. But we got a little more details, just kind of behind the scenes stuff. And one of the things that the sound team would do is they were constantly buying, or not constantly, but they were buying slime to record the different sounds it would make. So maybe they would slap it into a desk, or kind of like just swing it around and slam it into something, or whatever the case was. And that was how they were trying to get some of the ink sounds and how it was landing on certain things or splattering or whatever. And so the director would see receipts coming by his desk for slime, and he was like, what is going on here? But that's how they were just getting creative, which I think is super cool. And I love hearing this kind of stuff and kind of getting that behind the scenes. I really, really dig that. He went on to talk about the Octo Expansion as well, which this is pretty cool. He says the Octo Expansion will have over 80 stages, each varying in length. There will also be multiple objectives in some levels, so not nearly as linear as the current campaign missions. Also in the single-player campaign, you are going to be able to modify your gun by changing its range, so you can do a long range or a short range, which that is nice. That is nice. It can really accommodate your playstyle that way. But let's talk about this for a second. 80 stages varying in length. That is not a small amount of content. That's a decent amount of content. That's really, really cool. Having multiple objectives, like they're just cutting down on it being so, and he even said this in the video, which I will link. I believe it was on IGN, but I'll link to it in the show notes, n64josh.com/NPC80. But he said, in the first campaign and the second campaign, it was move from A to B. That was it. Move from A to B and complete the mission. He said now there's going to be like maybe little side quests or little things that you can choose to do just to kind of extend the content, have a little more things to play. Maybe it unlocks something. I don't know. I'm speculating there. But it's not going to be just this linear experience. It's going to have a little more depth to it. And from what we've seen, we can already tell that it's going to be darker. It's going to be looks like it's going to have a little more story. Like we're going to get a little more lore. We're going to see some old characters returning. So it's really shaping up to be something cool, and I'm looking forward to it. But 80 stages, that's crazy. That is crazy. So, and I believe that's this summer that we're going to see that drop. So, good stuff there in the Splatoon 2 department. And that's kind of it for this episode, guys. So thank you so much for listening to this MPC Mini. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at N64Josh, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Vero, all the places, N64Josh. If you want to get yourself a free book from Audible, you can go to audibletrial.com/NPC. There you can choose from many, many books, and you help support this show. OPSeat.com is the chair I'm sitting in. you want to save yourself $10, use coupon code N64Josh. I do have a Patreon if you want to get yourself an extra podcast, and I will be recording a Q&A podcast this weekend exclusively for the patrons. So if you want to get in on that, just head on over to patreon.com/N64Josh. We do have t-shirts, guys, for the Nintendo Powercast. So if you go to n64josh.com and you click the store tab, you can get yourself a t-shirt right there. And there's sweatshirts and coffee mugs, all kinds of stuff. So just check that out if you want to get yourself a shirt. And lastly, if you're enjoying this show and you're on iTunes, if you want to leave us a review, I would greatly appreciate it. I really want to get this show to 5 stars. Thank you to everybody that's been leaving reviews. I see them going up daily, and I greatly appreciate that. So do remember, check out the Smash Bros. Cast. Let me know what you think, and if you enjoy it, I could use a review there as well. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on Tuesday for the NPC. Later.